In January 1066, Edward the Confessor died without an heir. A tumultuous year followed, but by Christmas Day, England had a new king, William of Normandy, William the Conqueror. William was not English. He ruled as Duke in Normandy, a Viking-established duchy lying across the English Channel. William was not the sole claimant to the throne, yet he successfully seized the English throne by force. So why did William of Normandy become King of England? This video explains 4 key reasons why William ultimately won. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. The succession crisis. The first reason William became king was confusion and uncertainty over the succession. Edward the Confessor ruled England for over 20 years, but he had no children. This created a major problem as to who should inherit the throne. William later claimed that Edward had promised him the crown in the early 1050s. Edward had spent much of his youth in Normandy, and there were close ties between the English and Norman courts. Whether this promise was ever clearly made is debated, but what matters is that William believed it was legitimate. At the same time, England's most powerful noble, Harold Godwinson, had his own claim. Harold was Edward's brother-in-law, Earl of Wessex, and the leading figure in English politics. William also claimed Harold had sworn fealty to him in 1064, though this too is debated. To make matters worse, when Edward died, Harold was crowned king immediately, before William could press his claim. This lack of a clear, universally accepted successor meant Harold's claim to the throne could be debated, giving William the opportunity to mount a challenge. Harold Godwinson's weak position and bad luck. William's success was also due to Harold Godwinson's difficult situation. He had been chosen by the Witan and crowned on January 6th, partly due to his strong military leadership and promise of stability. He prepared to repel an invasion from William in the south. However, in September 1066, England was invaded by the King of Norway, Harald Hardrada, supported by Harold's own brother, Tostig. Harold was a claimant to the throne through an old agreement between his predecessor Magnus I and former English king Harthacnut. After an initial Norwegian victory at Fulford, Harold marched his army north and won a decisive victory at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. But this victory came at a cost. His army was exhausted. Many men were wounded or killed. Supplies were depleted. Just days later, William landed in southern England. Harold was forced to march his army back over 200 miles to the south at great speed, giving his men little time to recover from the battle. By the time Harold faced William, he was fighting a fresh, well-prepared Norman army with troops who were already tired and stretched thin. William benefited not just from planning, but from timing and circumstance. Military skill and victory at the Battle of Hastings. A decisive reason William became king was his victory at the Battle of Hastings. On October 14th, 1066, the two armies met near Hastings at Senlac Hill. Harold's forces fought on foot, forming a strong shield wall on high ground. William's army used a more flexible combination of archers, infantry, and cavalry. At several points, the Norman attack seemed close to failure, but William showed leadership and adaptability. When rumors spread that he had been killed, he reportedly lifted his helmet to show he was alive, restoring morale. At key moments, the Normans appear to have used feigned retreats, drawing English soldiers out of their defensive formation and weakening the shield wall. Whether it was an arrow that killed Harold or not, Norman archers also disrupted the English line, and the use of heavy cavalry, rare in English warfare, gave William a tactical advantage over the largely static English force. By the end of the day, Harold was dead, and around him lay much of the experienced English military elite. William had not just won a battle, he had shattered the leadership and military power of southern England. Consolidation. William's victory at Hastings was decisive, but it did not automatically make him king. Instead of surrendering, some of the English clergy and magnates nominated Edgar the Etheling as king, though their support for the young and inexperienced Edgar was only lukewarm. After the battle, William moved cautiously and deliberately to secure control. Rather than marching straight into London, William advanced slowly, devastating parts of the surrounding countryside to demonstrate his power and break resistance. Key towns such as Dover and Canterbury submitted, and he also secured the royal treasury at Winchester. By the time he reached Berkhamsted, leading English nobles, including Edgar the Etheling, Earls Morcar and Edwin, submitted and recognised him as king. London, isolated and leaderless after Harold's death, had little choice but to submit. William was crowned on Christmas Day 1066, presenting himself not simply as a conqueror, but as a legitimate ruler. Crucially, his invasion had already been endorsed by the Pope, with one chronicler claiming he had sent a papal banner in support of William's claim. This added to claims of legitimacy, framing it as a lawful correction of Harold's alleged oath-breaking, rather than foreign aggression. That, combined with a broken and subdued political elite, allowed William to consolidate his gains. So why did William of Normandy become King of England? Because 4 factors came together: a disputed succession, Harold Godwinson's weakened position, decisive victory at the Battle of Hastings, and consolidation. William's success was not inevitable, but it was the result of planning, opportunity, and leadership. In 1066, William had been crowned king, but his control over England was far from certain. That, however, is for a future video. Thank you for liking and subscribing.